to our conception of how God works. Whether He has created this universe with a purpose or without a purpose. Does it have a design, or only accidents play their part? Now, if the universe is a design and God had a purpose in creating it, then accidental raining or meteorite or anything could not be permitted to take place, which will interfere with the purpose of life. That is why the news item to which you have referred has another story as well. Some other scientists have discovered and proved it mathematically that it is impossible for that asteroid to strike the Earth. It will pass by a very long margin, so long that it could be counted in light years or time in the light scale. So this is wrong. Whenever a asteroid or any large chunk of free floating heavenly bodies is permitted to strike the Earth, it always serves a purpose, never without a purpose. One example which I have been speaking of many times is that of dinosaurs. Scientists were baffled for a long time. Why should dinosaur come to a sudden rapid extinction? Incidentally, when they speak of sudden rapid extinction, they do not mean in days, months or years. They refer to the scale of evolution, and with that reference what they mean is in 100,000 or 2,000, 100,000 years, small scale. But still they couldn't understand. They had dominated the world for a very long time, and suddenly within a matter of 100,000 years or so, they became totally extinct. What happened? Later on they discovered, another branch of science discovered, that during the time they started to disappear. I mean, these environments were far too difficult for them to cope with. A very large meteor is known to have dropped in the middle of ocean. The shape of ocean was different from that which we find now. But most of the ocean which was surrounding the land mass had its effect, direct or indirect, on the land species which are progressing through evolution, as they call it. What happened was, when this asteroid dropped into the middle of the ocean, it released immense size of water particles, gases, etc. into the air, so that from north to south the world was divided into two parts because of that great rise from the impact of the meteor of various substances and gases, etc., etc. Now they remained here on the earth for a very long time, covering the entire world, creating that effect which is carbon dioxide excessive effect. What do you call it?
Ozone.
Huh?
Ozone.
Where carbon dioxide grows greater in proportion and stands between sunlight and the earth and the water.
Smog.
What?
Smog.
Yes.
Yes.
When this happens, the earth begins to grow warmer, and with that warmth the snow at both peaks in the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere begins to melt. And some drastic changes are brought about in the environment. Those changes, when they affected the growth on dry land adversely, the first to hit were the dinosaurs, because they were accustomed to eating far more than ordinary small animals. The result was that the small animals who were most often hidden in shelter for the fear of dinosaurs, they started coming out in the open, and the dinosaurs started becoming extinct. And by the time they became extinct, earthquakes and other conditions buried them deep under the ground. Now they understand this, but I specifically want to tell you that it was not an accident. It was a design, because most of the earthquakes and other changes in the environment which took place were responsible for all the oil which we discover today underground. Large mass of trees and shrubs, etc. were buried not only near to the surface, deep into the surface. All the bodies of dinosaurs went deep down by the side of oceans. All this was not a consequence of accident. It was design. Or we might have achieved know-how how to use oil without any oil to be available. So these underground treasures were discovered or made to discover by God only when man's scientific knowledge has advanced enough to start thinking of internal combustion engine. Oil was necessary for that. And the moment the scientist's mind was searching for some fuel which should not be externally used like coal, but should be internally used, that moment when they conceived of it, the possibility of aeroplanes, motor cars, etc., all became a reality. And it became a reality only because of dinosaurs. You see, and there was rapid extension and all that happened. So a meteor which struck the earth at that time was understood to be an accident. But when you study the consequences, you absolutely rule out the possibility of an accident.